7 Rules to Ride the Midnight Train, Abandoned Subway Horror Story. Part 1. The Briefing. I'd been on call for weeks, patching up flickering lights in deserted stations, unclogging emergency exits that groaned open on their own, and chasing down rats the size of cats, or so it felt. When the city planners announced the reactivation of Station X39, a long-abandoned stop buried beneath the bustling metropolis, they offered hazard pay, double time for any work past midnight. I thought it was just another gig. At 11:50 p.m., I gathered with 4 fellow technicians in the control room, a cramped concrete bunker lit by a single swinging bulb. The walls dripped condensation, and every surface was coated in a slick film of rust and grime. The hum of a lonely generator was the only sound, punctuated by occasional creaks as the building settled beneath us. Across the table lay a yellowed clipboard. On it, 7 rules were scrawled in shaky handwriting, each underlined twice. 7 rules to ride the midnight train. 1. Do not disembark at platform 4 after 2:59 a.m. 2. Never glance into the control room mirror. 3. If you hear the train horn without seeing headlights, do not signal. 4. Only pull the emergency brake if speed is greater than 20 kilometers per hour. 5. When the red light blinks 3 times, hide in car 1. 6. No one else may read these rules. 7. Survive until the final stop, then burn this list. I swallowed hard. Cindy, a senior tech, looked pale under the bulb's glare. "You see this?" she asked, voice unsteady. "They want us to... what? Hide inside the train? Who wrote this?" Nobody answered. The generator hummed louder, as if mocking us. The control room door creaked open. A figure in a dark trench coat stepped inside. I tensed, hand inching toward my toolbox. He didn't smile. He set a brass key on the table, a key marked X39, and pointed toward the tunnel mouth, half hidden in shadows. "You start at 3:20, he said, voice flat. "The midnight train departs at 3:33. Follow the rules, or it'll follow you." He turned and vanished into the darkness before I could ask why. The bulb overhead flickered once, then went out. We sat in darkness, the faint red glow of the tunnel lights painting long, jagged shadows across the floor. My heart pounded. The words replayed in my mind. 3:33 a.m. The train. The rules. Survival or something far worse. Part 2. The descent. The stairwell's concrete steps were slick with moisture, each footfall echoing like distant thunder. My flashlight beam danced along rusted pipes and peeling tile as Cindy led the way, key X39 clutched in her trembling hand. Behind us, Marcus and Elena exchanged nervous glances. Only Dave brought up the rear, whistling softly in a futile attempt to calm his own racing heart. At the bottom, we stepped into Station X39, a cavernous platform, frozen in time. The curved ceiling arched overhead like a cathedral of concrete, stained with decades of water damage and graffiti that told stories we couldn't decipher. Flickering red signal lights cast long, jagged shadows across the platform edge, where bits of debris and bits of broken glass glinted like sinister confetti. Still, a chill wind blew through the tunnel entrance, carrying the faint scent of rust and something sour, old blood or something older. The walls dripped condensation that hissed when it hit our hot boots. Every drip, drip, drip. A reminder that we were not alone. "You hear that?" Elena whispered, voice barely above the hum of the generator behind us. We froze. Far down the tracks, a soft clank echoed, like metal wheels on rails, though no train was in sight. Then another and another, growing in tempo. Clank, 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 clank. Our breaths quickened. The rules weighed heavy in our pockets, but this sound, it was a warning. I shouldered my pack and stepped forward. Each clank reverberated in my chest, matching the beat of my pulse. We followed the sound along the yellow safety line, past rusted benches and abandoned ticket machines, toward the dark mouth of the tunnel. The closer we got, the hotter the air became, an impossible heat for an underground station. Sweat beaded on my brow, stinging my eyes. The generator's hum faded behind us. Here, only the clank remained. Finally, we rounded the corner and saw it. The midnight train. Its sleek, silver cars sat where tracks should have ended, gleaming under the broken signal lights. The windows were dark mirrors, reflecting our pale faces back at us. The doors were closed, but a faint wisp of smoke curled from beneath, as if something had just disembarked. Cindy swallowed hard. "It's 3:25 a.m., she muttered. "We've got 8 minutes." We stepped onto the platform, boots ringing on the metal tracks. Marcus checked his watch, then flashed me a weak grin. "Ready to ride the world's most haunted subway?" I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on car 1, where the red light above flickered 3 times in quick succession. Blink, blink, blink. Rule 5. I pressed the clipboard to my chest. If that light blinked again, we would have to hide in car 1. No questions asked. A low rumble began under our feet. The train's headlights snapped on, a single beam cutting through the darkness like a blade. Dust erupted in a golden plume. The horn let out a long, keening wail that vibrated in our bones. 3:33 a.m. The platform light surged, then died, plunging us into near total darkness, save for the train's headlight and the faint glow of the rule sheet in my hand. And then the doors slid open with a hiss. Part 3. Platform 4. The train doors closed behind us with a hollow thud, and the cars lurched forward. The rhythmic clank of wheels on rails resumed, but now it was accompanied by a low, mournful moan, a chorus of voices echoing through the empty car like distant wind through dead trees. I checked my watch. 2:58 a.m. We had just 1 minute before Platform 4 was off limits. Cindy cleared her throat. "Remember, Rule 1. Don't disembark at Platform 4 after 2:59. Her voice trembled. "Anyone who steps off there won't come back." Marcus scoffed, but I saw Elena clutching the clipboard as if her life depended on it. Dave fiddled with his radio, trying to find a signal. Useless down here. The train rattled through tunnel after tunnel. The only light, a sickly yellow glow from the ceiling panels. My pulse thudded in my ears with every turn of the wheel. Then, with sudden jerking brakes and a screech that felt like metal ripping apart, we rolled into Platform 4. The doors opened onto a station that looked both familiar and wrong. The platform was empty, but the lights were brighter here, almost inviting. Old advertising posters peeled off the walls, revealing cryptic symbols scratched into the tiles beneath. "Hurry," hissed a voice. I spun around. No one there. Just Elena, eyes wide, staring at the wall where the posters flapped in a non-existent breeze. She whispered, "Do you see the writing?" Faded chalk scrawl spelled, "Turn back before the echo answers." 2:59 a.m. The train's door chime sounded, a gentle ding, and the doors began to close. Cindy grabbed Elena's arm. "Get back on!" she yelled. Elena hesitated, foot hovering over the threshold. Then, as the last sliver of light disappeared from the car, she jumped back inside, slamming the door shut. The moment the doors sealed, the platform erupted in sound. A deep, resonant echo rolled through the station, bouncing off the walls like thunder in a canyon. Shadows stirred at the far end of Platform 4. Figures, tall, gaunt, stepped out of the darkness. They wore tattered station uniforms, faces obscured by darkness, eyes glowing faintly blue. They raised their arms in unison, as if beckoning us. "Help us!" they chorused, voices layered, overlapping, drowned in static. My skin crawled. I pressed my back against the door, hands sweating on the rail. The train began to pull away, but the shadows stayed at the edge of the platform, reaching out. Dave, who had been silent until now, whispered, "They're the ones who didn't follow Rule 1. A sick realization washed over me. Once you stepped off after 2:59, you joined them, forever trapped in that echoing station. When we cleared Platform 4, the doors opened onto Platform 5 without fanfare. The normal lights returned, the air warmer. Elena sank to the floor. Breathing hard, we almost lost her. Cindy exhaled. "Let's stick together. No more detours." I nodded, eyes on the clipboard. Rule 1 was crossed out in red ink. Someone had marked it off. There was a new rule scrawled at the bottom. Rule 8. If you step off at Platform 4 after 2:59, you become one of them. I shivered. Part 4. The Mirror Room. The train's metallic doors slid shut with a whisper. The car fell silent, save for the steady hum of its electric motor. The glow of overhead lights pulsed faintly, casting wavering reflections on the stainless steel surfaces. Cindy led us to the control room, a small compartment at the end of Car 3. Inside, rows of old-fashioned gauges and levers lined the walls. But what caught my eye was the full-length mirror mounted beside the main control panel, its frame ornate, out of place, like a relic from another era. Rule 2. Never glance into the control room mirror. I stared at the glass. It was spotless. No smudges, no dust. Impossible in this abandoned train. Yet the moment I looked, my reflection seemed wrong. Elena was fiddling with a lever, her back turned. Marcus and Dave hovered near the doorway, their eyes darting nervously. I took a step closer to the mirror, heart thudding. My reflection blinked, but I hadn't. I jumped back. The lights flickered. A low, distant laughter echoed in the car, muffled but unmistakable. I swallowed hard and glanced again. The train car behind me was empty. No one there. My reflection, however, was smiling. A slow, deliberate grin that stretched too wide, too true. "What the hell?" Cindy muttered, stepping beside me. She peered over my shoulder, eyes widening. "It's not you." I shook my head. I didn't move my lips. Suddenly, the mirror rippled like water. A kaleidoscope of wrong images flickered across it. The car filled with huddled figures, their faces pressed to the glass. The tracks ahead, frayed and broken, leading into darkness. A lone technician, myself, floating lifeless in the tunnel. Each image lasted only a heartbeat before vanishing, replaced by the next. The laughter grew louder, more mocking. "Elena, get us out of here!" Marcus hissed, his voice trembling. Elena's hands flew across the levers. Sparks danced at the panel's edge. The train jolted and slowed, but the mirror's surface began to bleed. Dark, viscous liquid oozing from its edges, pooling at the frame. "Rule 2, I whispered, voice cracking. "Never look." But it was too late. The reflection stepped out. Not through the glass, through the thin line between reflection and reality. My duplicate, pale and twisted, emerged, its movements jerky, unnatural. It raised its hand in a mock salute, its grin widening impossibly. Cindy screamed and lunged, but her fist passed through the figure like smoke. The doppelganger turned its head, eyes glowing red, and let out a shriek that rattled the train's windows. The car rocked violently. The engine's hum turned into a roar. The doors shook, as though something outside was trying to break in. I backed into the corner, clutching the clipboard. "How do we stop it?" Elena found a small panel beneath the mirror labeled "Mirror Override." She ripped it open to reveal a red button. "Cover your eyes," she shouted. I pressed my palms over my face. The others did the same. A bright flash lit the car, so intense it burned behind closed eyelids. When we dared to look again, the mirror was shattered, its shards scattered across the floor. The doppelganger was gone. Panting, we gathered ourselves. The car had slowed to a crawl. Outside, dark tunnels stretched endlessly. On the clipboard, someone had scratched a new line beneath Rule 2. Rule 8. Should the mirror break, you must smash all reflections or be replaced by your double. I exhaled, wiping sweat from my brow. The bullet train's gentle whistle sounded distant, eerie, a reminder that the night was far from over. Part 5. The horn. The train lurched back to life, the hum of its motor steady once more. We sat in tense silence, each of us acutely aware that our reflections, and perhaps something darker, had watched us from the other side. Outside, the tunnel was a gaping void, lit only by the intermittent glow of signal lights. Elena wiped her hands on her pants, eyes darting to the clipboard. "Rule 3, she whispered. "If you hear the horn without seeing headlights, don't signal." I nodded, though my insides twisted at the memory of that mirror. Cindy gripped the rail, knuckles white. Marcus checked the track ahead through the window, impatience and fear warring in his expression. Dave sat in the far corner, radio still dead, staring into nothing. Minutes passed in silence. Then, a single low honk echoed through the car. Not the train's horn we had heard when boarding. This was distant, hollow, as if coming from far down the tunnel. Everyone froze. "Did you hear that?" Cindy's voice trembled. Another honk, closer this time, reverberating in the metal shell of the car. I stood, pressing my hand to the window. Outside, the tunnel was still empty. No headlights, no approaching train. Just darkness. The horn sounded again, honk, shaking the car with its resonance. Elena's eyes widened. No headlights? We can't signal. The rules burned in my mind. Rule 3. If you hear the train horn without seeing headlights, do not signal. But my heart pounded so loud, I could feel it in my throat. Honk. This time, right behind us, as if the tunnel itself was breathing. The car doors slid open with a hiss. My breath caught. We hadn't signaled, yet the doors obeyed an invisible command. Outside, the platform was gone. We were stopped in the tunnel, perched on the tracks. The signal lights above flickered red, green, then off, leaving us in oppressive darkness. The horn sounded again, louder, frantic, echoing off the tunnel walls until it felt like the rails themselves were screaming. I met Cindy's gaze. "We have to stay inside?" She nodded, voice raw. "Rule says no signal." We backed away as the car doors remained open, the abyss beyond calling us. A cold wind rushed in, carrying the metallic tang of blood and something dank, like rotting wood. Honk, impossibly loud, deafening. A shape emerged from the tunnel's blackness, a massive silhouette, towering over the car. Horns or broken tracks twisted into a grotesque form, scooping up the air itself to create that sound. The shape drew closer, and I realized with horror, it wasn't on the track. It floated just above, gliding, the horn echoing from its unseen mouth. Elena screamed and tried to slam the door shut, but it wouldn't budge. The metal frame vibrated with each honk, as if resisting our will. The creature's form came into sharper focus under a flicker of emergency lights that sputtered on above. A bent, skeletal frame, draped in tattered conductor's uniform. A head formed from twisted rails, its mouth a cavernous tunnel emitting the horn sound. Eyes, two glowing orbs of molten metal, burning with malevolent intent. It hovered before us, the horn's echo rattling our bones. Honk! A final thunderous blast. The car shook violently. Sparks flew from the overhead wiring. The motor groaned, threatening to die. Marcus lunged for the emergency brake lever. "We have to stop it!" He yanked with all his strength. The car screeched to a halt. The horn's echo cut off abruptly, leaving only ringing in our ears. The doors slammed shut on their own, sealing us inside. The emergency brake locked with a clank. We stared at each other, panting. The tunnel outside was silent, empty once more. On the clipboard, someone had added beneath Rule 3, Rule 9, never pull the emergency brake after hearing the horn. Doing so will trap the horned conductor with you. I swallowed hard. The creature's honk had followed us into the car, and only the crash of steel had driven it back. For now. Part 6. Emergency brake. The car shuddered to a halt as Marcus slammed the emergency brake. Sparks showered from the ceiling panels. The oppressive darkness outside pressed against the glass windows, and our breaths formed white puffs in the suddenly frigid air. A ringing filled my head. Half our own heartbeats, half the echo of that horn. The car doors locked with a definitive clang. We were trapped. Dave shook his head. Rule 4. Only pull the emergency brake if speed is less than 20 kilometers per hour. We were barely moving. Cindy checked her watch. 3:37 a.m. 4 minutes past the horn, and 4 minutes since the train began to slow. We should have been at walking pace. That lever was supposed to be a last resort, not a panic button. A low rumble began beneath our feet. Not the train motor. This was deeper. Grinding metal, like the rails themselves twisting. Then, the lights above us flickered and died, plunging the car into darkness. Only the red glow of the emergency brake handle remained, pulsing softly. "Great," Elena muttered. "Now what?" The rumble grew louder. The car tilted imperceptibly, as if the track had become liquid, sloshing beneath us. I gripped the wall rail for balance. A deep growl echoed through the floor. Then, from the vent overhead, something dropped. A piece of twisted rail, landing on the seat with a thud. We recoiled. In the dim red light, it looked almost alive, its edges jagged and shimmering. The growl turned into a snarl, and suddenly the twisted rail plunged through the ceiling panel. It impaled the car, shearing through seatbacks and control cables. We screamed. Cindy pushed us away as more shards rained down. Then came the voice, a low, metallic rasp. "You yanked my brake!" It reverberated through the metal of the car. The twisted rail pulled free, revealing the hulking form of the rail warden, a creature of iron and rust, forged from the tracks themselves. Its glowing eyes bored into us. Its body was layered with warped rails, each piece clinking as it moved. The emergency brake lever quivered in its massive hand. "You weren't supposed to stop me." Marcus tried to speak. We didn't know." The warden raised the lever. Sparks flew as it slammed it back into place. The car lurched violently, throwing us to the floor. I felt the track beneath us twist again. The warden's growl filled the car, shaking our bones. "Now you ride with me." It yanked the lever once more. The car doors burst open, revealing the pitch-black tunnel. The warden stepped through the gap, its body stretching impossibly long, before turning back. Rule 4 broken. Now the line demands toll. With that, it vanished into the darkness. The doors slammed shut behind it. Silence. Only our ragged breathing. When we dared to look up, the emergency brake lever was bent and broken. Outside the windows, the tunnel walls were scorched. Rails melted into jagged teeth. On the clipboard, a new line appeared beneath Rule 4. Rule 10. If you pull the emergency brake when speed is less than 20 kilometers per hour, the rail warden will claim a passenger as tribute. A cold dread settled over us. The warden hadn't threatened empty. We were its next fare. Part 7. The final stop. The car's interior felt hollow, as if the metal shell itself had emptied out our courage. The scorched rails outside glimmered like jagged teeth under the dim emergency lights. We sat in silence, each of us grappling with the cold dread of the warden's promise. Elena broke the hush. "We have one rule left before the final stop. Rule 5. When the red light blinks 3 times, hide in car 1. I checked the overhead signal panel. Car 5's red indicator blinked once. Then twice. Then blink, blink, blink. The lights throughout the car dimmed, then snapped back with a strobe effect that made our heads swim. The walls rattled in time with the flashes. I grabbed Cindy's arm. "Go!" I shouted. We sprinted down the narrow aisle, boots clanging on the metal floor. The car tilted, and I nearly fell, catching Dave's arm as he slipped. Marcus and Elena were already through the sliding doors, racing into car 1. Behind us, the overhead speakers crackled to life. A distorted voice intoned, "Welcome to the final stop." We slammed the car 1 doors shut. The world beyond became a black void, sealed away by metal and glass. Our breaths came heavy in the sudden quiet. Inside car 1, rows of empty seats faced each other like grave markers. The emergency lights glowed red, painting the walls in bloody hues. The door to the conductor's booth was ajar. Darkness pooling, the train jolted, hurtling forward faster than any of us expected. The ride was no longer smooth. It rattled violently, as if riding on broken bones. The walls groaned, the seats shook, and from somewhere deep within the car, a lullaby began. A sweet, melancholic tune that shredded our nerves. "Elena, the final stop," I gasped. "Rule 7, survive until the final stop, then burn this list." Elena's eyes flicked to the door at the end of the car. A faint light glowed beneath it, like a beacon in the abyss. The lullaby grew louder. It came from the conductor's booth. Cindy steeled herself. "We burn it at the booth." The 4 of us moved as one, boots echoing in the hollow car. The door loomed closer. I could feel a presence behind it, something waiting. I reached out and pushed it open. The conductor's booth was small and cramped, lit by a single overhead lamp that cast long shadows. In the center stood a metal brazier, its coals glowing with an otherworldly fire. The pieces of the rule sheet lay in Elena's hand. She dropped them at once into the brazier. The fire flickered, sputtered, then roared to life, scorching the papers into ash in an instant. The flames turned blue, then white hot, then vanished, leaving only the faint smell of charred parchment. Silence. Then the train gave a final shudder, as if exhaling its last breath. The doors slid open onto a platform bathed in pale moonlight. We stepped out onto platform 13, a station that didn't exist on any map. The air was still, the silence absolute. No red lights, no horn, no warden. Just the 4 of us, alive and trembling. Marcus exhaled, voice shaking. We made it. But as we turned to leave, I looked back at the open train doors. In the darkness beyond, I saw them, our shadows, lingering on the platform, separate from our bodies, waiting. We didn't wait, we ran. Outside the station, the city skyline glittered innocently. Taxi horns, neon signs, life teeming above. We ducked through the exit, emerging onto a deserted street. The station behind us sank into darkness and sealed shut, leaving no trace it had ever been there. Elena glanced at her watch, 4:07 a.m. We had survived, but as we walked away, I could feel it, the weight of something unfinished. The rules were gone, but their echo remained, pulsing in my veins. I looked at my companions. Each of us carried the same haunted expression, because some journeys never end, and some rules can never be broken. Psst, thank you for staying till the end. If your heart's still beating, maybe it's time to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be waiting here every week with a new nightmare just for you. Remember, in the silence, something always listens back.